it looks like this, and it sounds like this. But if you started recording, you would probably run into a couple of issues. The first issue would be, if I go back to my desktop recording, if you press recording or stream something, the audio might be out of sync. The way to get round this initially is to click on this cog here, click Advanced Audio Properties, and change the input lag of your audio input lag to like 30, and then you should, if you record it, just test it out, change that number. It's normally going to be around 20 to 35 or 40. Also, let's look at the OBS preferences that I have. So here's the general. I haven't changed anything on that. Streaming, that will just be your streaming server that you use. You get a stream key from Twitch or YouTube or whatever, but there's loads of videos on how to do that. I'm not going to go into that too much detail. Output, I haven't changed anything too much here either. I've kept it simple, and when I'm recording, I just indistinguishable quality, large file size, and keep it MKV. That just seems to work best for me. Audio 44.1, although I might change that to 48. And then on my base canvas, I set it to 1280-720, so that's why the quality on this video isn't amazing. It just seems to be what my computer can handle. And if you set this high, I noticed that the audio syncing issue number that you have to compensate gets a lot higher. I also set this to 30 frames per second. It just seems to work for me. And if you look down here, you can see my CPU is around 12%, which is, you know, perfect. And I think the quality is probably good enough for doing streaming. Although this isn't streaming at the moment, this is just recording. So when you record or do your stream, you just press start streaming once it's set up, and you want to make sure it's probably recording your stream as well in a good quality file as well, so you can go back and edit and use bits of it once you've done your stream. Okay, great. So that's probably the easiest way to get set up using Logic as with OBS. But I'm going to go into detail and a bit more what I would do in Logic to keep things sounding good, and some of the frequently asked questions that we got in here. So let's just minimize this. So on my channels, I would probably put a bit of a low cut on my acoustic, although it's sounding pretty good. If I I think that's sounding pretty good with the balance of the mic, and it's obviously picking up the mic as well. I might put a compressor on it, so I'm going to put a quick, easy Logic compressor on it. Let's just set it as a standard Logic compressor audio. So it's just clipping that. Oh. I think you can hear the DI now, actually. It's hitting it ever so slightly. Let's do that on my voice as well. So just a slight low cut on the voice and a compressor, and suddenly I'm a lot louder. In fact, I'm going to roll that compressor back a bit because it's coming quite hot. You can hear the fan in the background as well, so let's take that down. And then you might want to put a bit of reverb. Now I would just put reverb in the channel itself because you want to keep your CPU quite low. I'm just going to use Space Designer. Let's put it in a stereo thing. That is insane. So let's take the wet level down. Hello, 1 2 1 2, and that sounds pretty good. So you could pretty much do a performance like this now, I think, and it would sound great. You also might want to put a limiter on your mix channel. Remember, everything you do on the mix channel is going to your output monitoring and BLACKHOLE, so I'd probably put a Logic limiter on this as well. So let's put a limiter on and just give that a boost. It's going to make it well loud. It's probably a bit too hot, really. Oh, it's way too hot. Now I'm looking over at OBS on this other side here, and you can see that everything's clipping in the red. You want to probably stay in the yellow. So let's just turn it down. Oh, still clipping. I think it's probably my inputs, or These two are a bit too loud, so let's take those down. That sounds pretty good. Balance on the guitar and the vocal. See what that sounds like? And I called out to you, but you don't see me. And when I wrote to you, oh, you don't read me. You fall through the sky, down to your side. Will you still be mine? And I won't roll with you. So you can actually hear that I'm actually clipping on the way in, so I'm going to take down my vocal a bit because I sing a bit louder than I actually talk. So let's go again. So I set the levels a little bit, so I ducked down the volume on my input of my mic, put a quick low cut on it, a bit of a compressor. Let's talk about how crazy we could get with Logic and streaming. So, if I go back to this window, say we wanted to play over a backing track or a... Oh, no. Say we wanted to play over a backing track or a drum loop. I've given you a channel here or a channel here for dropping in drums. So let's just drop in an Apple loop. Okay, so if we want to play over a backing track using singing over a backing track or, playing over a backing track, all you need to do is this. Open up that template that I made for you again. Go to your Finder and find the backing track that you want. I'm going to use one of my tracks because it's free. It's mine. Adjust this level accordingly here for the track, and what you'll find is when you play the song you won't be able to hear any audio. So I'll be talking now and you can hear me. As soon as I press play you can't hear me anymore. So the way you get around that is going up here, pressing customize control bar, and you need to tick on these two things: software monitoring, auto input monitoring. Okay, and then you also need to click auto monitoring off. So then when I play the song you'll still be able to hear me talking over it. Everything's all good. So I could play over it now. Okay, that's great. That sounds all good. And then if you wanted to play over it using a soft synth, you can load up any soft synth. Make sure you've got it routed the way I've got it routed to bus 1, which I explained. So it's routed to bus 1, going to your mix, and that's all routed properly, going to BLACKHOLE. So I'm going to use this soft synth here, record arm it, and you should be able to hear me jamming. You should be able to hear me jamming over the top of it. Okay, so great, so we can jam over a backing track. So that was a big question people were asking in the last video. Let's see what else I've got to talk about. Offsetting audio, I think I did talk about that, but I'll maybe just do it quickly again. So in OBS you might have some issues with the audio not syncing up properly. This is how you get around that. Select your audio input source. So for me it's the BLACKHOLE. Click on the settings, advanced audio properties, and you want to change the sync offset to about 35 to 40 milliseconds depending on what you've got your video settings set up as. So my video settings are like this. Output is 250 kbs. I'm recording at MKV, indistinguishable quality, large file size. video at 128, 1280, 720 and 1280, 720, and then bicubic 16 samples, and I've gone for 30 frames per second because it just seems to work best for me. And my CPU is actually quite low still, so you know, I feel like I've got a lot of room. It's not going to crash any time soon. Okay, so let me see what other issues have I covered. Everything. Oh yeah, so the other thing I've set up here is multi-angles using OBS, and the way you do that is by creating scenes. So over here in the bottom left hand corner, I've got a bunch of scenes. The first one is just my C920, which is the top of my computer up there. The other one is how I'm talking to you at the moment, with doing the demonstration on OBS and using Logic. So if I wanted to flick between these angles really quickly, I should do this one way with OBS. Just go to OBS preferences and set up hotkeys. But if you wanted to automate this, there's a program you can download. You downloaded this tool called Advanced Scene Switcher. You go to sequence and you can create a sequence. So I'm going to click from, say I wanted to click from camera 1 to scene 2, which is my keyboard, after 10 seconds. Do that. Okay, and I'm going to do that with a fade, and you click plus down here, and then when we're on scene 2, I want to go back to camera 1 after 10 seconds, and I can do that with a fade as well. So let's click plus. Oh no, camera. No, camera plus. And then if you want it to start doing that, all you need to do is go general and click start. And then if I go on OBS, it will start flicking between those angles.